This is Cross 91.3.
Are fuel prices moving up, down, or doing waka waka? Is the city really behaving, or it's just pretending for the cameras? Well, that's why you need a show that breaks it all down without breaking your head. The Afternoon Business Review gives you clear analysis, fresh updates, and smart insights without the stress. My name is Oye Ankrah, and I bring you everything you need to know in the world of business Mondays to Thursdays at 12:30. Let's have lunch together. The Afternoon Business Review, where Ghana's Business Day gets explained. The second-hand goods sector, particularly the used clothing and apparel trade, is a vital economic lifeline for Ghana. It employs approximately 2.5 million traders, impacts the livelihoods of over 10 million Ghanaians, and generates nearly $30 million in annual tax revenues for the government. The industry involves over 5 million people in the value chain, ranging from large-scale importers and wholesalers to tailors, to retailers, and upcyclers. The trade supports a predominantly youthful and gender-diverse workforce and remains an essential source of financial independence, particularly for low-income women who make up a significant portion of market retailers. Second-hand goods such as clothing, electronics, and vehicles provide an affordable alternative to costly new imports. This allows the vast majority of Ghanaians who earn below the national average income to access quality items they might not otherwise be able to afford. Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to the Afternoon Business Review, where we tell you what moves money and markets. And I know a lot of you are gearing up for the World Cup. People are anxious to see what happens once it opens today in the three countries, Canada, Mexico, and the USA. Ghana's Black Stars will be playing, or participating in the World Cup. We want to see what or where we get to, but that is happening, yes, on the other side. But here in the studios of Class 91.3 FM, it's time for us to talk business over lunch. Let's get informed on all the information you need to make a decisive decision when it comes to your money and market, your stocks and currencies. What are the new policies that are shaping the economy? From the banking sector to insurance to stocks. From the second-hand clothing sector to the food market. We have all the information here on the Afternoon Business Review. It's a good time for us to look at how the key commodities are doing on the world markets. I'm talking about crude oil, gold, and cocoa. Let's begin with crude oil. Crude oil is selling at $89 per barrel on the world markets. Gold is being sold at $4,092. That's per ounce, and cocoa is priced at $3,712 per ton. All on the world market. You know the prices are not the same locally or on the domestic market. However, these prices on the world market influence how much the commodities are priced here in Ghana. And that is why they matter. It's a good time to find out how the currencies are being sold on the interbank market. I'm talking about the commercial bank retail prices. The dollar is selling at 11 cedis 50 pesos, and if you want to buy, you're likely to buy a dollar at 11 cedis 49 pesos. 11 cedis 49 pesos. The British pound is trading at 15 cedis 40 pesos, and if you want to buy, you're likely to get it at 15 cedis 39 pesos. The euro is selling at 13 cedis 29 pesos, and if you want to buy, you are likely to buy 1 euro for 13 cedis 28 pesos. These are retail prices at the commercial banks, so the UMB, the CBG, and all the banks. You walk into your bank, this is how much you're likely to get any of the currencies. These are the key currencies, so the dollar, the pound, and the euro. Be mindful that the prices will be different at the various forex bureaus. And as I say always, it is illegal to go to the black market. It is illegal to do so. Now that you know the exchange rate, let's talk stocks. Let's go to the Ghana Stock Exchange to find out how your stocks are doing. Kathleen Dati of Databank has some update for us.
The stock market closed on a positive note on Wednesday, with price gains in 6 equities against 4 laggards. The top gainers were Clydestone, Total Energies, and ETI, while Cal Bank, Guinness Ghana, and MTN Ghana declined. The non-index gold dropped to close at 473 Ghana cedis, 48 pesos. Driven by the price gains, the Ghana Stock Exchange Composite Index surged to a year-to-date gain of 63.63%, while the Databank Stock Index surged to a year-to-date return of 79.21%. Zen Petroleum and MTN Ghana traded the most, accounting for 65% of the market turnover after trading 5.4 million shares over 24 counters. For Databank Research, Kathleen Dazi.
And here in the studios of Class 91.3 FM, my name is Oye Ankrah. We are talking business over lunch, and it's on the afternoon business review. This is the show that brings you all the information with regards to the economy. Yes, and we'll dive into a big conversation today because we recorded something yesterday when it comes to the economy. The economy actually expanded. We recorded some growth during the first quarter of the year, and the growth rate as of the end of the first quarter was 6.4%, which is significant, yes, for the first quarter of 2026, and it's up slightly from 6.2% we recorded during the same time last year. That's the latest figure from the Ghana Statistical Service. So yesterday, the government statistician announced the rate. I want us to just listen to him briefly and then have a conversation with our guest, who is a development economist, Dr. Hayford Ayirakwa. He's already on the line, but I want all of us to listen to the government statistician while he gives us what actually drove this growth. And then we'll come back and talk to Dr. Hayford Ayirakwa, who is already on the line.
The quarter-on-quarter growth examines the momentum from one quarter to the other. But if you want to do a good job in terms of comparing quarter-on-quarter, then we have to deseasonalize the data. And so we did exactly that. After adjusting for normal seasonal patterns, Ghana's economy grew by approximately 1.6% between fourth quarter of 2025 and the first quarter of 2026. This is important because it shows that growth was not only stronger than a year ago, but also continued to gain momentum compared to the immediately preceding quarter. So the economy therefore entered 2026 with positive growth dynamics. Let's look at the agriculture sector. which was basically led by a forestry rebound. The agriculture sector expanded by 4% in the first quarter of 2026, and this was lower than the 6.6% in the first quarter of the preceding year. But let's note that though it was lower, it still remained positive, meaning that the agriculture sector still saw expansion of 4% in the period.
So you had the government statistician, Dr. Al-Hassan Idrisu, who was trying to explain how we got the 6.4% growth when it comes to the economy. Dr. Hifoda Irakwa is on the line. Good afternoon, sir, and welcome to the Afternoon Business Review on Class 91.3 FM.
Good afternoon, and nice to be here.
Right, Doc. Have you had lunch yet?
Not yet. I was happy when you said business over lunch. So
let's talk business first. When we finish, we'll go for lunch. Doc, so we have recorded a growth of 6.4% when it comes to the economy. Is this something that you were anticipating as an economist?
Well, so the goal of every government, and of course those of us who play in that space, is to see the trend and the patterns that will help us to make meaningful projections. You'd agree that if you look at the macroeconomic indicators as recorded over the past 14 months, 15, 16 months, it's been very encouraging. And so, all things being equal, I anticipated that in some areas we should expect growth, especially when you look at the areas that relate to services. So I'm not surprised, for example. I personally expected to see a dip in growth in agriculture, and I'm not surprised that this is happening. However, looking at the report, I'm beginning to ask myself and questioning myself whether or not the configuration of what constitutes services is properly being looked at. And this is a theoretical question that I am beginning to ask myself. And I ask so because, agriculture primarily, if you look at the way we've measured agriculture in the past, we look at crops, we look at livestock, we look at forestry, etc., etc. But agriculture has really evolved. And today we are having a lot of services within the agriculture value chain. And so within that sector, I'm asking myself if I'm providing a service to a particular value chain within the agriculture sector, am I being classified, for example, as a services sector, or I'm being classified as agriculture? And that is a theoretical question that we will have to debate later. But to the substantive point, I am not surprised because if you look at government policy, the public policy which has shaped the economy in the past 15 months, you would see that there's been very intentionality in managing the macroeconomic indicators, i.e., inflation, exchange rate, etc. And that has direct impact on the well-being of people. At the same time, it has a cost component to it. And the cost component is what is reflecting currently in the numbers we are seeing in the agriculture sector. And even what we are seeing, but for the forestry overhaul, I'm sure probably would have been seeing numbers that are inching closer to zero and possibly negative growth. And negative growth potentially, but for forestry growth that we have seen, because there has been very little incentive for local production, because the alternatives that are available to the consumer, you and I, are cheaper. And so you've heard farmers cry about the fact that they are produced and there's so much they can't get buyers. Prices are very low, but they can't even get people to buy. And it's beginning to reflect on how much people can are willing to commit to agricultural development and agricultural production related issues. So it is good news that we are seeing growth overall. I heard the statistician talk about some significant growth since the last quarter. But if you look at the present quarter and what was reported in the previous quarter, this is 6.4 as against 6.2. And so there's been very marginal increase. And so when you look at it from that angle, but of course, when you look at it on year basis, then we've made some very good progress. And so I think that as a country, the growth that we are observing is good. However, we should be interested in answering the question, what problem do we want to solve? If you go to the services sector, what are the areas generating this growth? And you see that it is telecommunication and banking. If you come to the manufacturing, you will see that mining and quarry is a major driver in the manufacturing sector. These are very good contributors. But if you are thinking about sustainable growth, if you're thinking about areas that can potentially create the jobs and make direct contribution to the well-being of your people, then these are not enough. You need to be interested in other aspects of manufacturing, the areas that can create jobs which has direct impact on people's livelihoods and consumption patterns. Similarly, despite the fact that agriculture might be contributing very minimal to this overarching growth, we also see that agriculture remains the major employer. So whenever your agricultural sector is recording lower numbers relative to previous quarters, it is not strong, it's not good enough. And so these numbers are very good. It helps the government to know the direction that things are headed so that they on their own can strategize. I think that we need to be intentional and know what we want to achieve, what questions we are answering as a country, so that we are not just hiding behind the macro numbers and global numbers. Like we have made a significant, the economy expanded by up to by 6.4%. That is good for the headlines. But what are the issues behind the scenes? Otherwise, we would report the numbers, and yet the people who are supposed to be beneficiaries, businesses who are supposed to be benefiting from these expansion, would not get these expected results, and that will not be good for us as a country.
Right. So we are seeing information and communication leading the growth. Is this sustainable? And I'm asking because some people say, okay, yeah, we mine, we have agriculture. Why is information and communication leading the growth?
You cannot. It is sustainable. It is sustainable, but the big question is, what activities is bringing this growth? But you see, we are in a space, in a world where we have become a big global village, and everybody is actively participating within this ecosystem. And so, I don't expect that the level of engagement and activities that we have within the technology and communication ecosystem would go down. If anything at all, it's going to increase because a lot more people are being added onto the space on a daily basis. And so I expect growth to continue to pick up from that angle. However, what is the trickling down effect of these growth in the area? That is why I would agree with those who say that we need to be very intentional in creating growth in specific sectors of the economy and not allow things to just grow. Government must create enabling environment to allow private sector to incentivize private sector to be interested in certain areas of our economy that we believe when we invest in these areas would create the needed impact that we want to see. Otherwise, we would see this pattern and it's great, we would record it and pat ourselves in the back, but the impact on the economy would continue to be minimal.
While you are measuring the impact, the ordinary Ghanaian will say, well, I am not seeing the growth. How can ordinary Ghanaians actually tell that the economy is expanding such that they benefit from it? How can they tell?
You see, as a village boy, I agree with those who would ask or make the statement that, we can feel it. The best way you can feel that economy has expanded or is improving is in your livelihood, is in your well-being. So if your livelihood is improving, then you can tell for yourself that things have improved. But if things are worsening, if you are beginning to cut down meals because you cannot afford a 3-square meal, if you are beginning to park your car because you cannot afford fuel, if you are beginning to move to certain parts of the city, the countryside, because you can't afford rent in certain areas that you used to live, then that is a question, a test, a litmus test for you to see whether or not the economy is improving or not. So we need to be, that is why I make the point that we don't have to hide behind these global numbers, these macro numbers, and pat ourselves in the back. We need to be intentional about it and aim at putting in strategies that can support the average Ghanaian to have this impact in their daily life. Look, at the end of the day, the cost of living from all, even the multidimensional data that Statistical Service has produced, if you look at the Ghana Wellbeing Tracker that Africa Policy Lens has produced, if you look at other data points that have come up from credible institutions, it tells you that cost of living is high, despite the macroeconomic gains we have made. This sends a strong signal that we are doing something, achieving something great. It's like being celebrated out there in the public square, and yet back home, your children are hungry. That is problematic. And so we need to be very intentional and say that, look, we are interested not just in the macro numbers, we are interested in the well-being of our people. And these are the policies, these are the strategies we are putting in place to make sure that it is translating into the average life of every Ghanaian. That is what government should be interested in. But if we are not careful, we will leave it at this high level, and yet those down there on the street, as it's raining now, people are stranded. That person does not care what it means that your economy has expanded by 6.4 percentage points. The guy who is hungry this afternoon, even though we are talking business over lunch, the guy is wondering where to find 5 cedi, 10 cedi to buy kenke. He doesn't care what you talk about with your macroeconomic jargons. He's interested in, is my belly full or I'm hungry? And that should be the interest of the managers of our economy, if you ask me.
They don't care whether we are talking business over lunch. They're looking at where to get the money to buy a bowl of kinky and fish, Dr. Hirako. Oh, that was. But by the way, just by the way, but Doc, we just have about 1 minute. What message do you have for the government based on the figures as put out by the Ghana Statistical Service? Briefly, sir.
I think my message to the government should be we need to approach the issue from a two angle. One, we've done well with the macroeconomic indicators, and it is showing. Government must begin to put in systemic policies that has direct bearing on livelihood and the well-being of people. And by that, I mean, what are the areas that can create the jobs, sustain the jobs? What are the policies that can help improve on the well-being, i.e., housing? As we speak, people are stranded. What government policies are being put in place? We don't have to all be in Accra, but government can decide that, look, I'm starting a new, I think government talk about this oxygen city thing. I don't know where we are around it. These are things we can be intentional about and make sure that we are carrying the people along. If we think well-being of our people over macroeconomic indicators, we will be very interested in knowing that these numbers are good, but these numbers are not enough. And I think government can engage further. We are happy to support and provide some alternatives that we can all pursue in the interest of our economy and the country as large.
As always, it's a good time to have you on our show. We totally enjoyed your analysis. We are grateful for joining us to speak business or talk business over lunch. Dr. Hayford Ayirakwa, he's a development economist at the University of Ghana, and we were talking about the new growth expansion rate as put out by the government statistician or the Ghana Statistical Service. We'll come your way again with some more analysis on business, financial, and economic issues or matters right here on the Afternoon Business Review. My name is Oye Walton Ankrah. I am so grateful that you joined us this afternoon. Join us again from Monday to Thursday, 12:30 to 1 p.m. every week or every day. Yeah, every day. From Monday to Thursday actually. And let's see what is happening within the economy. Let's learn a thing or two. Have a good afternoon.